Welcome back to the channel. It's time to talk about the very best comic books that you can buy this week. We're heavy on indies, we're light on the big two, and another somewhat down week, but the highs were very high in my opinion. And here to talk to me about that is Drew from Comics Lead. How you doing, Drew?
Doing great, Wes. It's a big week here at Comics Lead and Merc Publishing. Always staying busy, but I got time to talk about some good comics. Let's do that.
Well, the first one we got to talk about is the finale of Do a Powerbomb, issue number 7 from Image Comics. Daniel Warren Johnson writing and illustrating. He took some interesting choices in here, and I think in the hands of a lesser writer, he probably could have dropped the ball. We finally get a big tag team matchup. It's the culmination of the story, and they're fighting God. We've seen the WWF do this in the past with Shawn Michaels as God as his tag team partner versus the McMahons. It was very bad. It was really stupid. Daniel Warren Johnson decided to throw this plot point into the story, but he doesn't go out there and trash religion. For the most part, it's good fun, and I think he closed out the series on a high note.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Look, and I'm Roman Catholic. I made there's no confusion about that. And I enjoyed it. You know, it's like when you got to have a little bit of a sense of humor about these things. And I enjoyed it because it's a farcical take on it. You know, you can't take it seriously. All right. This is wrestling. It's a comic book. So yeah, I can go with it. The wrestling god. And we need to make a choice like this. It can either fall flat on its face, you know, like you said with WWE and WWF, or you can knock it out of the park. And Daniel Warren Johnson, he fully embraces it and he knocks it out of the park. I enjoyed every single page of this, and he goes completely over the top with the finisher moves with God. I loved it. I completely enjoyed it, and I really, really loved the touching ending to this. It got me. It was really good.
It'll hit you right in the feel spots.
Yeah, yes, it does. It absolutely does. If you have a mother, if anyone has had a mother out there, it's going to hit you right in the feel spots. And this gives my highest recommendations, you know, are probably for the year. This is going to be probably one of my top 5 books of the year, if not top 3. And
this will be my top 2 or 3. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys cannot go wrong with this series. Daniel Warren Johnson has cemented himself as the best writer artist right now in comics.
Absolutely. I think he's the best writer artist of his generation now. He does have a body of work, and it speaks for itself. Do a Powerbomb number 7. Absolutely phenomenal. But we had a couple of debuts this week, which I thought were very, very good. First up, we got Gargoyles number 1 from Dynamite. Greg Weisman returning to the series that he created for Disney. George Campbadias as the artist here. If you're a fan of Gargoyles, you are absolutely going to love this one. Although there is a lot of catching up, just reminding you who the characters are, where the story left off in the cartoon series, because this is a direct sequel to that. It's picking up exactly where we left off. All the major players are there. It looks like a lot of fun. It reads great, and the character voices are all perfect. Not surprising, since Greg Weisman created Gargoyles all those years ago.
I would say it's about, 75-80% catching up, and then about 20% new stuff going on. But I have no problem with that, you know, 'cause it's been a while. I mean, a lot of people probably haven't seen or remembered Gargoyles for this great amount of time, and it's a great way of catching you up to what's happened. And it's a lot. There's a lot of sub characters I completely forgot about. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I forgot about that guy and that guy and that guy. There's some great stuff here, and like you said, the art really isn't anything special to write home about. It kind of reminds me of Alessandro Cappuccio when he started off early on Moon Knight, where to me, it really wasn't that special or great, but he got better. So maybe the artist will get better. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we've seen a lot of these books lately where it's like an 80s, 90s callback, and they really don't do that well adapting it, but they do a great job here. And I give this a high recommend. Yeah, you guys cannot go wrong with Gargoyles. You will enjoy it.
They have not revamped this for a modern audience, and I think that was the right move. They recognize Gargoyles is actually for the Gargoyle audience. Let's get somebody that recognizes the story, the universe, and let them create it instead of grabbing some Joe Schmo off the street that wants to tell a social message, do social commentary, and jam it into something where it doesn't belong.
Absolutely. I was fully prepared for that. I was ready for it, but it didn't happen. And yeah, I got to give him the highest of compliments, highest recommendations for not doing that. Great job there.
Absolutely. The other comic book that debuts this week that we're going to recommend, I try not to recommend comic books written by my friend. I don't want to seem as if I'm being a shill or anything like this, but Dahlia in the Dark number 1 from Mad Cave Studios, Joe Corallo writing. Andrea Milana is the illustrator on this one. I had to talk about it. It's absolutely fantastic. I didn't know really what was going to happen, but I didn't think we were going to see like a character that's I guess he's some type of transporter kind of thing. If you think about the Jason Statham movie, and he's in this alternate kind of fantasy world. We see in the beginning, he has a happy home life. He's got a wife, kids. Everything is going well for him. We move to later in life, and something has gone very wrong. The family is gone, and he doesn't have the job he had anymore. Now he's ended up transporting stuff kind of around this weird world. And it turns out there are other people that want what he is transporting. It was a really good story. I really love this one. I try not to show it for my friends, but Joe Corallo knocked it out of the park there.
I've read Joe's stuff in the past. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Beckstar, and he's doing a great job editing Born of Blood right now. I saw some of the art and the premise. It sounds great, but yeah, I try to remain neutral and stuff like that, with my friends and everything. But yeah, it does look pretty fun. At some point, I will check it out.
It didn't arrive at your comic shop. That's the reason you haven't read it yet.
Yes, that's the reason why.
You weren't avoiding Joe's work, right?
I don't want it to seem like a conflict, because he's editing my book. I want to be careful there.
I completely understand. I try to avoid that kind of stuff here on the channel, but in a light week on comic book recommendations, Dahlia in the Dark #1. I think a lot of people are going to like that one. Let's move over to the big two. Not a lot of great things going on there. We had to kick off a dark web. We're not going to mention that here. We had Batman 130, which I think is going to be controversial. Let's go over to Marvel Comics. You like another debut. Miles Morales, Spider-Man #1, Cody Ziegler, Federico Vicentini on art here. I happen to like Federico Vicentini. He's got a good style to him. I don't like Cody Ziegler's writing after reading Spider-Punk, although his writing on Amazing Spider-Man before that was actually pretty solid. So I decided to avoid this one, thinking that Spider-Punk was probably more who Cody Ziegler was.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Cody Ziegler fan either. Like, to me, like, he is honestly, if he were an athlete, let's say a baseball player, he's not even in AAA. He's in AA. He shouldn't be where he's at. But anyway, when it comes to this book, I was planning on completely avoiding it like the plague, because believe it or not, people out there, I have read the Miles Morales comics since Brian Bendis, and a lot of them have not been that good. And when people started telling me, hey, check this out, I'm like, okay, maybe they're telling me I'm going to have a good roast here. But I start reading it, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, Miles is actually written like a character. He's not written like a caricature. He's not perfect. He's making mistakes. He's having to pay for choices he's made. And he does go too far when it comes to fighting some characters. And he's having to learn lessons in this. There is some great stuff here. And I'm actually enjoyed how Miles was written in this. And granted, he's not Peter Parker. He's not the Spider-Man, but he's making himself as a different character here. And the art as well in this book, it was terrific. It was very dynamic, very action-centered. I loved it, bold. Yeah, I gotta recommend people do check this out. There is something here. I think Miles is going into the right direction finally after 15 years. I think finally there may be something here. It could go in the wrong direction after issue 1. We'll see what happens. But issue 1, you could do a hell of a lot worse.
I firstly avoided the comic book, but after that, I will probably check it out and see what's going on there. Like I said, I did like Cody Ziegler's work when he was on the Beyond board with Amazing Spider-Man. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I'm not going to forget Spider-Punk. It's always going to be It's always going to be in the back of my mind. That was his first chance as like a solo writer. It didn't go well. Hopefully he's redeemed himself here. Let's go over to DC Comics. We have one recommendation. I would say this one isn't quite as good as Do a Powerbomb #7, but Batman and the Joker, The Deadly Duo #2 from Mark Silvestri is absolutely hot fire. I really enjoyed the first issue. I thought the characterization was a lot of fun. I thought the artwork was absolutely dynamic. My big issue with it was that not enough stuff actually happened. It was a lot of setup and not a lot of execution of the actual story. That picks up big time in issue #2. I was very happy about that. Things really start moving at a much faster pace, which I think is a lot more of an enjoyable read. And we get Nightwing in this one. Was not expecting the character. Hopefully he gets to do some badass stuff here later on in the story, but I was glad to see one of my favorite characters in there as well.
Yeah, and you said the key word there, enjoyable. I found myself reading this, and I was legitimately laughing at a lot of the situations, a lot of the lines of dialogue, and there's some times where I was shocked and surprised, like where they're actually going with some of the violence, some of the situations. There is some really great stuff here, and arguably after this Batman 130, this is the Batman book right now. I mean, honestly, Mark Silvestri is firing on all cylinders here. The art is terrific. Story is terrific. It's fun. It's enjoyable. You guys have to be checking this out. I mean, honestly, if you think Batman 130 is the bee's knees, you guys got to check out Batman and Joker, The Deadly Duo. This is amazing. Please.
Very nice. Now, you mentioned earlier Born of Blood, which I haven't reviewed here on the channel because I do have you here as a co-host for this show and all that stuff. But the third issue came out this week. What's the reception been like?
People have loved it. People have really loved where it's going. They loved how it actually, the cliffhanger it has at the end of issue 3. They love the journey it's taking. They love the turn it's taking. They love the mystery and intrigue. That who is the traitor in Sparta? Who is the one betraying Leonidas and Jairus? Who is playing them against one another? And they love this. The Kleptis people I'm setting up as the evil bad guys. Going after Jairus. A lot of setup here. People are really enjoying the universe I'm building, and I could not be happier about that. This has been my goal. To great counter programming here to Marvel and DC, and I've had this is all thanks and helps of Joe Corallo and Aaron Sparrow. This ties into the Merc universe. This is the beginning of the Merc line. It all ties into Miss Meow, Catfight, Death Rage. It all begins here. And we're doing a great job setting up this universe, and we have bigger things to come. Oh, and issue 2 went back to the second printing. If you recognize this page, the cover, that is an interior page from issue 2. That actually does happen in the book. So, yeah, I could not be happier. People are loving it, and thank you to everyone out there who've chosen to pick this up and have read it.
Well, congratulations to you and Merc Publishing and all your success, and I'm sure it's going to keep going.
Yes, it absolutely is. We have big plans and schemes for 2023. It's only going to get wilder and crazier and bigger. Just wait, guys. There are plans.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for the very best comic books that you can read this week. If this is your first time on the channel, or maybe you're revisiting, or you're looking for the perfect Thinking Critical video for you, I've made over 2,000 videos. That's a lot of stuff to choose from. This is the video based on what you've watched that YouTube thinks is the perfect video I ever made for you. If you want some more Thinking Critical comic book content, definitely check this video out right now.